Hey, welcome back to a Spire channel where it's time to continue working on our homemade Slay the Spire 2. Like, well, tiny parts of it anyways at this point, right? We haven't gotten that far. Okay, but in the previous few episodes, right, we've been adding some Niao options, right, for our little Slay the Spire 2 thing. And then, well, as we went through testing our Niao options, so we were testing our things, but we realized we were transforming cards, and then we were getting original Slay the Spire cards, right? So we had to update our project a bit to remove the original Slay the Spire cards, right? Disable those. So we went from, you know, more cards to fewer cards, right? Yeah. So I guess we had 24 ironclad draftable cards before because after the video, I realized that before I started making YouTube videos, I actually forgot to add barricade to this, little resource here. So we actually had 24, and then after removing the cards that didn't make it into Slay the Spire 2, right? So we have 16, right? So we haven't added ironclad, barricade, excuse me, to this. So 7 cards got removed, right? And we as humans, we feel the psychology of loss aversion, right? So when we have something and lose it, we feel really bad compared to if we just, didn't get the thing to begin with, right? Or so basically, like you lose $100, you feel terrible, right? But if you didn't gain $100, it doesn't feel as bad, right? So in this episode, we want to try adding some cards to kind of make up for, not having as many cards as we did before, right? Yeah, I mean, we didn't actually lose the cards because, we could always, we still, we could reactivate those cards and pretend that those cards made it into Slay the Spire 2, right? But they didn't, right? So let's just, make some more cards. So, yeah, we have, more cards to work with in our game. So, okay, the first thing we do is to do what I mentioned and, add barricade because we forgot to add it before we started making YouTube videos, right? And so as a consequence, we haven't actually tested the barricade cards, so hopefully it works, but, yeah. So we add barricade, put it in the rare section, right? So now we have 17 cards. Okay, so now we want to make a taunt card, right? And so to prepare for this episode, I downloaded the card images from untap.gg, right? So we have these card images, and then I took out the part which is just the card art and did a bad job of, image editing just to get that, right? So because obviously when you're making a game, you don't have just the whole card as one thing, right? Because you got to have the text be dynamically updated based on your buffs and stuff like that, right? And then the text has to change if the card's upgraded, things like that, right? So in our card scene, so we have it looks like kind of this sort of thing where we have the image, the background, the energy icon, the cost, the card name, those are all separate elements, right, in the actual scene. In our project. So one thing that's out of scope in this episode, we're not going to change things to look like Slay the Spire 2. We're not going to add different shapes for the, different types of attacks. Who cares, right? This is just, we're making it for fun at home. But yeah, so yeah, let's start adding the card, right? So we've talked long enough. So yeah, let's add a taunt. So a taunt in Slay the Spire 2, right? It is gains block, applies vulnerable, upgrade, you get more block, more vulnerable, right? So when we're making the cards, we think about, well, what have we already done, right? And so, well, you wouldn't know what I already did because I didn't start making the YouTube videos until recently, right? But basically, we had Bash and Iron Wave, and so you can sort of say that, well, a taunt is like, okay, so I guess, how do I want to explain this? So one consideration when we're making taunt is it's a targeted card, right? So you target the enemy, you apply vulnerable to it, but then you gain block, right? So the target of the card doesn't gain the block, you get the block. So we want to make sure that we're not giving the monster that we're targeting, to give vulnerable block, because that would be stupid, right? And this card would suck so bad if it did that. So yeah, that's kind of one thing we want to, just kind of be aware of, right? And so we already have a card, Bash, right, which applies vulnerable, so we can copy some of the stuff from there, right, when we're giving it vulnerable. We have Iron Wave, which is a way of gaining block that, when us gaining block instead of the thing we're targeting gaining block, right? Because Iron Wave, you attack something, you get the block, not the thing that you're attacking, right? So we'll kind of combine the two and kind of make a taunt. and kind of, yeah, do it that way, right? So, okay, so let's make a script for the taunt. Well, first of all, let's get the art. Let's put it in the project, so that we actually have it to work with. So we make this Slay the Spire 2 directory, right? And then we'll say uncommon. And then we'll put the card images in that, so we'll in the correct folder so that we can actually work with them, right? Well, not these images, the images that we hold on, that we kind of took the parts of, right? So yeah, these images. So we take these, and then so we move them copy them to the new folder, so we have those to work with, right? Taunt and Uppercut, the images. So okay, taunt. So okay, let's go to our card folder. So I didn't think too much about what to call these folders. Right now it's called player characters. Maybe that's not the best name, but that's something we can address later if we need to. Okay, so let's make a new card, right? Oh, a card effect, basically, right? Is what we're dealing with. So, well, we still call it card here because basically we're making the script that will, do part of, the card's effects. Yeah. So I won't set every variable, and we'll have a resource file that takes the card effect and then fills in the rest of the card's variables, right? But yeah, so this is called taunt. So we'll put that there. Right, so I guess we can copy some stuff from the bash script, right? So class name is not bash, it'll be taunt, right? Taunt. And then so we'll just, okay, so taunt doesn't do damage, it does block, right? So we'll copy that from Iron Wave, right? So we have base block and upgraded block. Well, we can do base vulnerable duration, upgraded vulnerable duration in taunt, right? Yeah. Wait, let me make sure I'm recording this properly. Yeah, this should be fine, right? Okay. So base vulnerable duration, upgraded vulnerable duration. So for taunt, it's 1 and 2, not 2 and 3 like it is for bash, right? And then so for for the block, we just copy that stuff from Iron Wave, right? We'll just say base block is 7, upgraded 8, because we use the values for taunt, right? Okay, so now so I guess we just, copy our function stubs, right? And then get default tooltip. So if it's up, so the tooltip text for the taunt, right, is going to be gain something block, apply something vulnerable, right? So this part's the same, right? And then we'll say apply this much. Whoops. I accidentally changed the insert mode. Hold on, let me fix that. Okay, let's fix that. Vulnerable, right? And then so I guess we can put the color equals gold, right? Color, I guess vulnerable is capitalized, right? So the amount of block and vulnerable will depend on if it's upgraded or not, right? So we'll just use string interpolation parameters for that, right? Yeah. So gain the string block. Okay, so if it's upgraded, right, we use upgraded block and upgraded vulnerable duration. If it's not upgraded, we use the base block and base vulnerable duration. Okay, so yeah, let's do that. All right, so then we also need to get the updated tooltip. So this will be the during combat, right? Because if you'll whoops, oh shoot, I just almost deleted my thing. All right, so during combat, you'll have strength modifiers, like the enemy will have vulnerable, right? You'll have weak. There's various modifiers that can affect how much block. Like for example, you're gaining during the middle of a fight, right? So it's not going to be just the default, like when you're just viewing it in your deck. So for taunt, so we'll just copy it from the Iron Wave for now, right? So taunt doesn't do damage, so we can cut out the parts that talk about damage, right? So we don't care about that. We don't care about this, right? Okay, so we have our unmodified block. We have our modified block. Yeah. So depending if it's upgraded or not, our base block is 7 or 8, and then so this will be like like for example, dexterity, right? So if we have dexterity, we'll calculate, you know, the actual amount of block we're gaining. And then, okay, so then this will make the number green or red if it's lower or less than the base block, right? And then so we don't need the damage, right? Okay, so now we need to put the vulnerable duration, right? So we need to copy that stuff from the bash script, right? So we'll just see how we did that, like, you know, how we, okay, so basically we just did if upgraded it or base if it's, you know, upgraded or not, right? Sure. Okay, so let's put that there. So what's the best way to do this? Hold on, how do we do it for bash? So basically we just had separate return if the, depending on if it's upgraded or not. Okay, I guess maybe we'll just do it like that then, right? So this is a little clunky, right? Maybe we can rethink of this later, but yeah. So yeah, so I guess if it's upgraded, return tooltips colored block string, and then the upgraded vulnerable duration, right? And then, you know, we'll have to rethink that if there's things that, you know, consider later if there are other effects, you know, which can affect vulnerable duration. Because there might be cards in Slay the Spire too which do that, which, you know, we'd have to check. But yeah, for now, let's just do that, right? Else, well, we don't need that, right? We just fall through. Go to non-upgraded case. So we just, yeah, we do base vulnerable duration, right? Okay, so this will give our tooltip for the taunt card. Okay, so what else, what other functions do we need? So we need to actually do the thing, right? So when we play the card, we actually have to, you know, yeah, apply the card effect. So we actually have to apply the vulnerable and gain the block. So right now we just copied it from Iron Wave, right? So let's get rid of the damage parts, right? We don't care about that. Yeah, and then we do that. Okay, so yeah, but there's no damage effect. And then so we need to copy the vulnerable stuff from the bash thing, right? So we do this. Oh yeah, we should also take care of the order. So you gain the block before applying the vulnerable. I don't think it matters, right? But, you know, just for correctness, I guess, right? So vulnerable status effects null. Then okay, so we have you know, a factory, you know, class that just creates all the status effects, right? So that's what this stuff is about. Okay, so this is, yeah, hits the thing. So this should be our taunt, you know, basically card effect script, right? So now let's make, well, we can just call it a taunt, I guess. Okay, so we can make the resource file, all right? So taunt.tres, so this will be the thing that, instance that we preload, and so this will have the rest of the stuff besides just the card. So the script does this card effect, and then this resource will, you know, have the rest of the stuff. So if for anyone who's gone through the Godot Game Labs, you know, that's a different YouTube channel, right? So that I've kind of based this on. Godot Game Labs tutorial, on, you know, on Slay the Spire, you know, you'll recognize some of this, right? Not all of it. So this is like, you know, one of the things that, you know, is still left in from the Godot Game Lab, you know, tutorial. I've refactored, you know, so much stuff that, you know, for the most part, this project's a lot different, but there are still some parts that are, you know, recognizable from Godot Game Lab tutorial, right? Okay, so the target is an enemy for taunt, right? So the rarity is uncommon. Oh wait, it's not an attack, it's a skill, right? Yeah, it's a skill. Yeah, it costs 1. And the exhaust is, no, it doesn't exhaust. It's not upgraded when you first get it, right? So playable, yes. Ethereal, no. End of turn discard effect, no. Okay, so let's use the, and then so this is where the image comes in, right? So we get the, yeah, so taunt. Okay, so for the tooltip text, it's this, right? Like it's, like we said, yeah. Make sure that, yeah, okay, so that should be right? Make sure it matches the, yeah. Okay. And then the upgrade preview text. So that's basically when we go to upgrade the card in a camp. So we need to, show that those numbers are in green. So this might be a clunky way to do it, but yeah, I mean, when we're just prototyping stuff, where we can fix stuff later, make stuff better as we encounter problems, right? But for now, this is probably good enough. So it becomes 8, and then so the equals green. Yeah, like that, right? So then when we go to upgrade the card, this will be the thing that shows in the preview in the rest site. Okay, so now let's add that to the list of draftable cards in Slay the Spire 2, right? So let's put the taunt in there. And then we put that in the uncommon section. So after the inflame is uncommon. Yeah, it's alphabetical order. Okay, so let's do that. But then to test the card, we're not going to play Slay the Spire until we happen to get a taunt, right? We're going to cheat and then add that to our card at the beginning of the deck, just so we can test stuff faster, so this video doesn't, be unnecessarily long, right? So yeah, let's do that. So var taunt card equals preload res. What do we call it? Player characters slash ironclad cards. Hold on, ironclad slash cards slash sts2. Okay, so we get the taunt, right? Oh, this is our resource. And then so we'll just say like a global dot player character stats dot deck dot add card taunt dot duplicate true, and we need the true here to make a deep copy so that when we upgrade it, we don't upgrade every single taunt, right? That's just the way we have it. Okay, so let's see if that worked, right? So we want to test, well, let's just test the basic functionality first and then move on to uppercut, right? And so this is, we did that. So let's test out our taunt, make sure that works. Okay, so we have the taunt in our deck, right? Yeah, so because we cheated and we kind of put that in when we start the game. So yeah, we don't really care about this. So I'll just raise our max HP. And then so then we'll want to make sure that taunt does what we want it to do when we fight, and then we want to make sure that when we upgrade it, we see the right upgrade preview text, right? So let's do that. Okay, so we've got a couple louses because, well, we haven't actually made any Slay the Spire 2 enemies yet, right? So this is a new video series. So for the time being, we'll just have to deal with the test it on the Slay the Spire 1 enemies that I made before I started making YouTube videos, right? So yeah, let's see. So we'll make sure that we can actually apply the vulnerable and gain block. And make sure it's us that's gaining the block, Chad here, not the louse, right? Yeah, we got the 7 block. We put the vulnerable on, right? So it seems to have worked, right? Let's make sure that the vulnerable is actually applying properly, so strike does 9 and not 6, right? So yeah, that seems to have worked, right? Okay, so let's just win this fight, and then we'll go on. We'll test the upgrade part, right? So okay, so we can make sure taunt works again. Yeah, it still works, right? So okay. So we'll just do whatever here. Oh, I probably should have taken the twin strike just to make things faster. But yeah, now we have to fight our way to the camp now just to test that, right? So this is a silly way of testing, but we're playing Slay Spire, just against the Jawworm, the old Slay the Spire 1 enemy, because we haven't implemented Nibbit yet, right? Oh, let's make sure we can. Yeah, taunt still works, right? So it didn't suddenly break. So yeah, we could do that. Okay, we'll just take whatever, right? This is old Slay the Spire 1 event. Uh-oh, well this is broken now because we did some refactoring. Okay, so what did we do? We messed up the remove card shrine when we were making our Niao, and then we refactored the card remover, right? So okay, what did we do? Shoot. Shrine. This is the purifier. remove a card. Yeah, so we need to put true, right? Yeah, okay, so because we added the cancelable in the previous episode, right? And so now we need to actually pass in the parameter when we call. Okay, well let's go through this again, and hopefully we don't run into another bug in an event. That okay, so we can upgrade the taunt here, right? Yeah. So okay, so we see that the upgrade text works, right? So we used the commander to test instead of fighting our way to a camp. That's perfect, right? That is what we wanted. So let's make sure that the upgraded values actually work, right? So then we're gaining 8 block and applying 2 vulnerable, right? And not the base, right? Okay, so let's make sure that works, right? Yeah. Okay, so that's what we want, right? Okay, so yeah, let's move on, right? So we've tested the basic functionality of our taunt card, right? And so, yeah, so now let's move on to bash. Not bash, sorry, uppercut. And so it's fair to say that uppercut is just a bash, but it also gives weak, right? And has different numbers, right? For the vulnerable duration, right? And yeah. And damage, right? So it's basically just a bash with different numbers. So we can kind of do the same thing with that we did with taunt for the bash and iron wave, right? So this is an iron wave, functionality reused. So we can just do the same thing, but yeah, just make uppercut a kind of a different kind of bash, right? So it does do weak, so we can make a new script for it. We don't have to reuse the same script, but yeah, you know what I mean. Well, you might not, but you'll see what I mean when I start doing it here. Okay, so let's go back to here. So we go to our card. Let's go to the okay, yeah. So here we make a new script, right, for uppercut. So this is uppercut.gd, and then this will be a card as well. And then so we do that, right? So uppercut. So this will be class name uppercut. Yeah. And then we'll do the same kind of things that we did for the other stuff. So basically we can copy the whole thing from bash basically, right? And then we'll just change the numbers and add the weak at the end, right? So copy paste. Okay, so uppercut, it's the same as in the original Slay the Spire, right? And Slay the Spire 2, 13, and then the durations become, yeah. So we need 13 damage. Well, damage is just 13. There's no base, or upgrade. It's 13, right? So upgraded damage. So yeah, so that's one difference from bash. We can just make it damage, not base and upgraded. Like yeah. So we can kind of refactor some of that stuff. Okay, so we have base vulnerable duration, so that's 1 for uppercut, upgraded vulnerable duration. And so let's add a couple of values here for the weak duration, right? Weak and upgraded weak duration, yeah. Okay, so now, okay, so this change color damage number. Well, I can leave the comment here. We'll worry about that later. So the tooltip is deal 13 damage, apply 2 weak, apply 2 vulnerable. So it's basically just, we add another line for the vulnerable, right? Apply, oh wait, is it weak first or is it vulnerable? Okay, it's weak first and then the vulnerable, okay. And then so in our array of string interpolation parameters, we do have to add, upgraded weak duration, right? And then we add the base weak duration, right? To here. What is this complaint? Oh yeah, it's damage, not upgraded damage, because uppercut does the same amount of damage when we're upgraded or not upgraded, right? So we do need to refactor that stuff. What is it complaining about now? Base weak duration, not... Oh, I misspelled it up here. Okay. All right, so now for the updated tooltip, right? So, okay, so the unmodified damage is just damage, right? It's not going to change if we're upgraded or not. So we'll just say damage. So we get rid of this stuff, right? Modified, yeah. So we still have to worry about modifiers like strength, weak, vulnerable, right? So we still leave that stuff in. Oh, but we don't have to worry about if it's base or upgraded. It's just damage, right? Yeah. So actually, what do we even need the unmodified value for anymore? I guess we can just get rid of it, right? We just do that here. Yeah. So yeah, we don't even need that anymore. And then, well, we don't even need to worry about if it's upgraded. So okay, let's just modified damage. Yeah, that's a variable here. Okay, so yeah. So uppercut, we just modify damage is this, right? Um, oh no, we do need unmodified damage because we have to determine if it's green or red, right? So we still need that stuff. Okay, so let's put that back. Unmodified damage equals damage, right? So okay, unmodified damage equals damage. And then, yeah, so modified damage will be based on the unmodified damage, right? So it could be higher or lower than the unmodified damage depending on if you have strength, if you have weak, stuff like that, right? And then, so this is stuff like, vulnerable, right? Just so you can see what I'm talking about here. So this is going to be like, e.g. strength, weak, right? So we make sure we do all our calculations. And then okay, we do our thing, right? And then, okay, so if it's upgraded, we need to do the green text for the damage, and then, so not just the vulnerable, but we also need to put the, the weak interpolation parameters in, the string interpolation parameters there, right? So let's put those in there. And then, so yeah, we do the same thing for the base, right? Okay, so then when we actually do our stuff, like, so when we actually play the card, we need it to do the, okay, so, well, so here we had to change the damage, so it's just always based on the, yeah, on damage, right? So because there's no upgraded and base damage anymore, it's just damage, right? So yeah, let's do that. Okay, so we do the damage, and then we do the weak before the vulnerable, right? So let's kind of put that above here to make sure we have the order right? So we have, and then this will be weak status effect, right? And then we make sure we create weak and not vulnerable, right? Otherwise, we'll just double up our vulnerable. And then we need to do it based on the duration. Right, so then we do weak status effect here. Okay, so we apply the weak before the vulnerable. Okay, so there's our script for uppercut, right? So now okay, so now we need to create the uppercut resource file. So we can add the image, the text, the upgrade preview or whatever, right? So here, so we make the uppercut resource. Yeah. And then, yeah, so let's fill in this stuff here in the inspector. So we have uppercut, attack, and it's uncommon. Target is single enemy, costs 2, doesn't exhaust. Whoops. Okay, we don't need to have it upgraded. Upgraded, that's mostly to do a runtime. Like in the inspector, we're not. I mean, maybe this shouldn't even be an export variable, right? Like, so if we go into, yeah, so maybe we should make a note of that. Like, why is this even an export variable? Let me go to custom resources. Hold on, where are we? Let's make a note of that. We can consider changing that. Wait, to do, like whether or not this needs to be an export variable. I mean, this could just be a regular variable without export, right? Because, do we really need it to be an export variable so we can, edit the resource in the inspector, right? Because I mean, yeah, why would we need to do that? So that's something we probably change in the future. But yeah, so it is playable. It's not ethereal. It doesn't have end of turn. Okay, so let's just add the uppercut image that we got in, right? So the tooltip text, we already put it in our upgrade. So let's do the, so it just, and is it 3 separate lines? Yes, 3 separate lines, right? So deal damage, apply weak, apply vulnerable, right? And we have the string interpolation parameters. And then in the upgrade preview, so we just put the default value here, and then we apply 2, 2, and 2. And then the green, these are green in the upgrade preview, right? Slash color. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, let's do that. So this will be uppercut, right? So we have the uppercut resource file now. So let's add it to Slay the Spire 2 ironclad cards, right? Yeah. Wait, no. Did I do that? Oh yeah, I need to get uppercut. There we go. So uppercut could go after taunt, so we'll just keep things off uppercut. And uppercut is a card in the original Slay the Spire, right? So we're not using it, but in case we ever want to play around with it in the future, let's add it to the Slay the Spire 1 array also, right? So let's just add uppercut. So just yeah. Okay, let's do that. Okay, so now let's make sure our uppercut works, right? So so when we go into our cheating run startup, like we do the same thing for uppercut, right? Let's just cheat and add an uppercut to our deck. Yeah. So let's do that. Uppercut. Yep. Okay, so and let's verify the basic functionality of uppercut, right? So make sure it does the damage, make sure it does the weak, make sure it does the vulnerable, right? So now, okay, we have our cheating uppercut that we added to our deck at the start, right? And then we raise our max HP, and then okay, so let's just let's fight. Okay, so uppercut, so it needs to do 13, so we should just kill this louse right off the bat, right? So that's not really a good test if it does 13, because if we messed up and made it do 12, this would still kill it, right? But but at least it seems to be working, right? So maybe we try to find a higher hit point enemy, right? So we don't run into that problem. All right, so okay, so we can also test the strength scaling of uppercut and the tooltip effects while we're at it too, now that we got it in flame, right? So when we gain 2 in strength, we expect us to do 15 damage, right? Yeah. So the text became green, we do 15. So when we play this, it should do, it should bring it down to 33, right? And apply a weak and a vulnerable. Okay, so it did do that, right? So we're good there. I guess we can taunt it, yeah. Okay, so yeah, that worked, right? So we just moving on. Oh, I should have taken the armaments because then we could just test it that way instead. Now we're really far from a camp. I didn't. Okay, let's restart the game. Let's find a camp. So, or we can get the Pomander too, maybe, and then test it that way, right? For the upgraded. Okay, we got Pomander. So let's test upgrade. Yeah. So this looks right, right? So it does display the way we want, and we the green weak, green vulnerable. Yeah. Let's do that. And then so let's make sure it actually changes the effect. So when we're uppercutting this, it actually does, the 2 weak and 2 vulnerable, right? I should probably move this slime a bit up so it's not, getting in the way of our button. Right? Oh, this isn't good. Oh, so we didn't do the text for the weak status, right? So that let's fix that real quick while we're at it. Yeah, because I didn't go through all of them and do that when I added the status tooltips. So, but yeah, that'll be good too for the video, so you can see how I sort of have it set up. Okay, so status effects. So we have the so the vulnerable one is working, right? So we have that, and so we just kind of copy the stuff and then kind of set up the weak ones the same way, right? So yeah. So the title, because this tooltip, well, I deprecated it and split it up into title and description while I was implementing the tooltips too. But yeah, so weak, and then make sure that it's the weak icon, right, when we're doing our status tooltip, and then the description, right? So oh yeah, that's just this, right? Attack steal. Yeah. Okay, so let's do that. So that should fix. Oh yeah, I should move that second slime up too in the 2 slime, just so it's not in the way of the button, maybe for at least for now, right? I mean, I could also move the button down or make it smaller, but well, let's just. So if I go into encounters, scenes, encounters, yeah, Act 1 easy, 2 slimes. Okay, so let's make the So the medium slide needs to move up a little bit, right? It's a jawworm at design time, but you know, it gets filled in with the actual variables. So right now I have medium acid being at 625, and then so maybe the spike slime is a little too high, too low. Yeah. So okay. So so maybe we just move it up to like 687 for now. Okay. So let's do that. Okay. But okay, so let's make sure that the weak tooltip is fixed right after we. Okay, let's upgrade our uppercut again. Yeah. Okay, so now I should apply 2 weak, 2 vulnerable, and then yeah. Oh no, that's still not right. Attacks deal %s %%. Okay, so there's something wrong with. So I need to actually put the thing in the script for the weak status effect. And I should probably also change the plural, right? It's attacks deal, not attacks deals, right? Okay, so let me go back to there. Weak attacks deal this much, yeah. Get rid of that. So attack. Oh, this is deprecated, right? But let's just fix it anyways. Okay, so let's go into vulnerable, the script, and then kind of do the same thing that we did for weak, right? So vulnerable, we have get description tooltip, right? Weak. So we just copy that sort of thing. For weak, it's like 25%, right? And so yeah, eventually we'll probably have to refactor things for stuff that affect the weak percentage, like paper crane for silent. But for now, we're just hard coding it to 25%, right? So that's yeah. Okay, so what else do we need to do? So it was also no, that's it, right? Yeah. Okay, well, let's test that again. All right, so let's remove strike. Go here. Okay, uppercut. Okay, let's hit the 14 so that way we have a chance to see the tooltip instead of just killing this right off the bat, right? Oh no, it's still 25%. Did I put too many percents? Okay, the duration is right. Maybe I need to put percent brackets around the in case it's just single turn, right? Just do this sort of thing, right? And then vulnerable, did I do that also? I mean, I can kind of do this, and we can worry about the specifics later. Okay, so what did I put too many percents or something? Let me see. Percent S. Oh, because I already put a percent here, right? Okay, so so maybe I don't need to escape the percent there. Like how did I do it for vulnerable? So I put 50% there, and then in the vulnerable. The description is just percent. Okay, so maybe let's just get rid of the extra percent then. Okay, so that should work, right? So if I didn't have the percent here, I would need the percent here, but I can't have both, right? It has to be one or the other. Whoops. Okay, so let's one more time, right? Let's see that if our uppercut is actually giving the right tooltip. Okay, so uppercut. Okay, attacks deal 25% less damage for 1 turn, right? Oh, does that need to be colored? Also, it probably does, right? Let's. So I think I did for vulnerable, right? Yeah. Okay, so let's do that. Make it blue. I mean, this probably doesn't really matter that much, right? But it's just annoying. All right, so let's. I mean, it's a little. Oh, just kills it, so we can't see the tooltip. Okay, let's just kill the louse and then go on to the next fight, right? Okay, so yeah, next fight. Okay. Oh. Upper. Okay, so now let's see the weak tooltip. Okay, that's better, right? So weak attack steal, yeah. Okay, so that's where we want to be, right? So we went a little out of scope here because we probably shouldn't have spent so much time doing stuff besides just doing the uppercut and then the taunt, right? Okay, so let's test the scaling, right? So let's make sure that uppercut does more damage when we have strength. Let's make sure that the taunt does more block when we have dexterity, right? So let's cheat again and add like just Vajra and Smooth Stone to our to our deck at the start of the run, right? Or to our relic thing, yeah. So okay, so let's do that. So we'll just cheat, and then so the Vajra, and then this will be like Vajra. Let's put like this is like the cheating section for testing. Yeah. Okay, so this can be like a Smooth Stone. Yeah. Oddly Smooth Stone, that's what it was called in Slay the Spire, right? The original Slay the Spire. Is it still called that? Maybe it is. Okay, so Smooth Stone. What? Oh, shoot. Yeah. Wait, what? Oh, no, I know the closing bracket. Okay, so Smooth Stone. Okay, so now we have Vajra and Smooth Stone, right? So let's make sure that our cards are still working, right? Yeah, test. Okay, so uppercut to 14 damage, right? Because we have the strength, right, from the Vajra. Yeah, 14, right? So let's make sure that the taunt. Okay, it does 8, right? Because we have the dexterity, right? So we have all these Smooth Stones. So yeah, that works, right? And do we also want to test to make sure that the upgraded taunt and upgraded uppercut work with scaling also? Maybe we should, right? So let's make sure upgraded taunt works properly. Okay, so it's 9 block, right? Because it's normally 8, but 8 because it's upgraded though. Yeah, so, yeah, that looks right? Okay, we need to find an upgrade for our uppercut to test the other one. So yeah, okay, so let's keep going. There's a camp here, right? So if we just get, I mean, we do have a couple of cheating relics too to do a little bit more damage. Okay, so. Oh, okay, we can upgrade the card here at the upgrade shrine. Okay, so let's upgrade the uppercut. Okay, so let's go to a fight. Okay, 14. 14. Wait. No, that's not right, is it? It should be 15. No. No, the 13 is upgraded uppercut does the same amount of damage as normal uppercut. The 14 is correct. So yeah, that is right. Okay, so yeah, I think we're good, right? So we implemented our uppercut, we implemented taunt, we kind of did basic testing for them. We tested the strength scaling, the vuln scaling. Well, I don't know if we ever got weak, maybe we should have tested that too, but yeah, it's a little off scope. I think it does work. I mean, based on our testing before we actually started making the YouTube videos. I'm sure if it doesn't work, we'll figure that out in the future at some point, because that's something that's really obvious when it's not working, right? Probably. So yeah, we don't have to worry about that now. Okay, so we did test to make sure that the card upgrade preview was correct, right? So we did some cheating, to help with our testing faster, right? Not just for the sake of cheating because we want to cheat, but it's just to make sure that we test the things we do. Otherwise, we would have had to play Slay the Spire until we get uppercut and taunt, and then it'd take longer to test, right? So yeah, next time I guess maybe we make some more cards, right? Maybe we do Blood Veil, Breakthrough, Molten Fist to do commons next time, Tremble. So maybe we should split these up into 2 episodes also. Like maybe Blood Veil and Breakthrough should be 1 episode, then Molten Fist, Tremble should be another episode, right? Yeah, so maybe let's plan on doing that, like for episode 6, right? Blood Veil and Breakthrough, yeah. But yeah, until next time, so for now, yeah, episode 5, Taunt Uppercut, I think we're good, right? So yeah.